Hey, and welcome back to another live stream. I hope you all bop around to Red Flags as it's playing because I certainly do. I see already we have Dunks in the chat. I think he's going to be a bit naughty tonight, guys. and I do like a sassy, naughty Dunks. So, anyway, let me say hi to all of you first. A massive hi to all my wonderful, wonderful moderators. We've got Trish in the house. Hey, girlie, how are you? Yes, I need to take a look at them and I will give you my thoughts. Absolutely. It's been a busy week, guys. I've had someone trying to copyright strike my videos. Well, no, that's wrong. Privacy strike my videos. So, yay, it's been great. I've been writing many an email, and it's just ridiculous. But there you go. Such is life. We've also got Vid in the house. Hey, Vid. We've got Paul. I hope I don't disappoint Paul. We've also got this disclaimer from someone called. Oh yeah, Jan's Views. It says, as the creator of this live stream, I hold no responsibility for comments made in this chat section. So, yeah, there's that. We've also got Claire in the house. Hey, Claire, how are you? We've got Pinky Pup in the house. We've got Red Sauce. Well, I hope you're all very well. We've got Nina. I'm a bit bunged tonight. I don't know how this is going to go tonight. As I'm speaking, I can hear it in my ears, but I will persevere because it's nice. It's just really nice to be able to come on here and just chat as we do, have a bit of a giggle as we do. There's not much to giggle about these days, is there? So, yeah, that's what I try and do over here. We'll wait for Dunks to click on the link. We've got Fizzy in the house. Hey, Fizzy. Hope you're well. We've also got Angela. Hey, you're all up here tonight. I like that. We've also got Dunks in the house. So let's say a rapturous hi to our Dunks. Here he comes. Hey,
Hi,
Dunks, how
Jan.
are you?
I'm okay. Can you hear me, first of all? Yes, you can hear me okay. All right, good. I had an issue with my headphones earlier this week, and they still work. That's not the problem. But I need to get myself away from them. I'm using these I don't like these ear things. These things that you stick in your ear. For me, you know what I mean? After 30 minutes, I just want to rip them up and destroy them. I just don't like them. I've had a lot of offers from people saying, "Oh, we can send you headphones." That's not the thing, and that's very, very kind of people to say that. But there's a particular set, the exact same ones that I got, and I know where I want to get them, and I will get them. I'm just particular about things like that. I'm going to get the pair that I want, but in this transitional time, I'm experimenting. If you can hear me fine, I can hear you fine, then this will work for tonight. But if at some point, Jan, you just see me rip these things out, it's just I don't like them, okay?
I know what you mean. I use them when I'm out and about, and I know it sounds silly, but I do a lot of my writing in coffee shops. I don't know what it is. It's something about there's a specific coffee shop I go to where
Hmm.
I have written so many songs in there, but what I do is I wear the earphones to blot out everybody else, and then I play a bit of music while I'm doing it. Excuse me. So I know exactly what you mean. They're so irritating. So anyway, it's lovely to hear from you. So Dunks, is there something you want to start off with before we go on to the questions?
No, not really. I was just going to echo what you said. It's been a busy week dealing with things and emails. I caught up with a few people. that, I keep saying I'll reply to you, I'll reply to you. I caught up with a few, but I don't know if you find this. You have in your head like there's five or six people or five or six things I need to address. And as you plow through those, five or six other things pop up that are related to it. And you think, oh, I never did that, or I never got back to that person, or I never really looked into that. And it's been one of those busy weeks, not productive. I haven't done a whole lot, in Jay Slater world, but just getting back to people. Yeah, it's been busy, but not for me, not necessarily productive. Travel wise, I'll be in a place next week where I will be a lot more settled, and I think that'll be more productive. Um, and then before we get to the questions this week, I was just going to say that Wax has done a whole load. I think Wax has done a whole load of really good stuff. If people have missed what Wax did the other day, he was step by step taking us through why, he feels Lucy um, and Ayub went to that police station and made that police statement. It's Lucy's statement, but Wax is saying Ayub was with her in order to totally remove Ayub from any potential culpability there. And that's starting to make sense to me that, Lucy and Ayub were kind of working together to make sure Ayub's out of it. Because I don't want to go into too much detail here, but it is still baffling how Ayub and Rocky were chatted to, I think, over the phone. I don't see any record of an actual interview. They were let go out of the country, gone forever, and we were all like, but they're the ones you should be talking to. And Wax has done a great job of explaining how the way Lucy might have presented that missing persons report, it might have all been set up so that, Ayub gets out, Rocky gets out, Lucy goes off to Lanzarote with Mummy, and there's no one left to question. So, big up Wax. I think he's done a really good job looking at that.
Indeed, he has. Um, it's something that I've always harboured on about how they've
Mhm.
just let these two people just go off. Oh, off you go, never mind. And obviously, the more we've learned about the case, the more we realise that they're all working in cahoots with each other. And yeah, I mean, they can try and, well, I mean, the most annoying thing is they don't even have to speak. And they've not been made accountable by anybody. Even the mother has not held them accountable. And that is, absolutely unbelievable for me. I just cannot get my head around that. So we've got a few questions that I've got lined up. I did take some of your suggestions, but not all of them, Dunks, because I put a couple of mine in. So we're going to start with this one, which is, and obviously we throw this out to you guys as well. So let us know what you think. So what have you learnt about Tenerife since following the case? What have we learnt? I've learned that there is a very sinister undertone to the island that um, as a holiday maker, I was never aware of. And if I'd have been aware of that, my daughter wouldn't have gone there. Put it that way. But I think it is an underworld, and it's something. I think they're quite astute. The people that work on the strip, I think, are the people that normal holiday makers like you and I, Duncan, they wouldn't interfere with us because they'd know they wouldn't get anywhere with us. But I think they know the type of people to look for. And when they see a group of people, i.e., a group of teenagers, obviously Brits, I don't know whether other countries have the same issue, I don't know, but I know, like with Brits, and when they see these type of people, they're the people that they aim for, and then they'll give them out flyers. I remember being in Lanzarote and Palma once, and being handed out flyers to nightclubs, and I think that's their first point of contact. And then once they get them in there into the club, then that's when it turned very, very sinister. So that's what I've learnt about Tenerife since following the case. So Dunks, I'm going to pass it over to you. What have you learnt?
Yeah, along the same kind of lines. I've found that it's an island with a hierarchy that is very, very powerful. And I mean, this sounds quite sad, but I think it's a place where one wouldn't expect justice to take its normal course. I didn't know a whole lot about Tenerife justice system or anything before this. I'd been there, but it didn't particularly interest me. But the more you dig into how many police officers have been arrested for taking bribes or fining tourists, illegitimately, how many judges have been sacked for this, that, and the other, it is way above the global average. There's something about islands as well. I mean, your Caribbean roots will tell you this, Jan. When you're from a smallish island, a lot of people know each other, and it has much greater pull than it does in other, greater societies or larger societies, let's put it like that. um, we don't tend to think that the right person that appears in the Old Bailey is going to know the judge and know what the verdict is before they go in there. I mean, the UK is kind of heading down that track somewhat in some cases, it seems, but generally, no. It's a big enough place where you're not going to have any strings to pull. I think Tenerife is the opposite way round. I think that I just get the feeling, and from speaking to people like Noah, it doesn't work like that. If the right circle is involved in your life, or you're involved in the life of the right circle, then the rule book just kind of goes out the window. And this whole secrecy law thing. You see, I've been looking into those two dead Ukrainians on the northern side of the island, and I'm 99% sure that secreto de sumario, the secrecy laws kicked in there because all of a sudden no information. And I double checked on this. If autopsy results are available, they're not released if that order is still in place, because it might hamper in some way an investigation. Well, I still find this very, very weird. It's a world that we're not really used to. I'm not really used to it, but it seems like people in Tenerife are like, well, yeah, that's how it goes here. I wouldn't feel comfortable with that. I mean, happy to, say goodbye to someone that wants to go on holiday there. Take care, be careful. But in the background, I'd be thinking, if something goes wrong, it's powerless. You're in the hands of people that don't have your best interests at heart. Let's just put it that way, Jan. I'm very wary of those types of places.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And, I think we have to remember also that it's not just Tenerife, it's also Ibiza, it's also Mallorca, which is where I went. But I do feel, these young kids, there's definitely some sort of link. Definitely, it goes without saying. And, we've discovered the link with the northern lads, but there must be links with guys from different parts of England as well, from the London lads and the London kids and everything. So yeah, I really feel it just seems a shame that there is no accountability involved in this, and it just seems absurd to me. So I think, as my grandkids are getting older and, thinking about going off on holiday, I'm gonna be biting my fingernails for sure. So let's see what else. Yeah, hi Raf, nice to see you. So Raf says the island is a magnet for drug dealers and the like. Yeah, it's just an easy thing for them, isn't it? It's an easy way for them to get their target. The same as concerts. It's exactly the same. So we've got someone called Millennial Moon. So they say at the start of all this, I honestly thought there was some type of witness protection involved or a three-letter agency. After a while, I now think it's just plain corruption. Yeah, I think it is. I think a lot of it is corruption because if we have worked it out, then surely the cops will have worked it out, so yeah, it's sad. And as I say, it's not just Tenerife, it's other islands, it's Caribbean islands as well. It's islands everywhere. I see you nodding your head very strongly there, Dunks. Have you got something to say about that?
It's very hard to explain to people that haven't been living in this kind of society. It's a very, very different world. I'll just have a quick word about what happens in Nassau, Bahamas in particular. They have a very, very high crime rate, as does Jamaica. Many Caribbean islands do. But there's a phenomenon that happens there that people would be scratching their heads in Western Europe about. And that is often people accused of murder, of gunning someone down, will be released on bail. That is not unusual. Now, the crazy thing that's happening in places like the Bahamas when that happens is the police well know that this gangster, probably gunned someone down. They also know if they release him on bail 24 hours later, that guy will be taken care of by the other rival gang. It's almost like cutting out the middleman. They know very well what's going on. They haven't got the time or resources to deal with all this stuff. So they let the bad guys take care of the other bad guys. It just sounds crazy. But when you hear about this tit for tat, this 18-year-old was shot over here, and then 24 hours later, some other guy was shot, you know what's going on. And in our society, we're like, oh, this is mayhem. This is crazy. But in places like the Caribbean, that does happen. And people, I mean, it's not a good thing. People are like, how can this be? But you've got these small, very intimate societies, and generally the good people know who the good people are, the bad people know who the bad people are, and when they cross over, there's a lot of Debbie Duncan style shoulder shrugging. It's like, oh well, it's the kind of that I have no doubt the guy deserved it, And I think in our society, Jan, we're still at that hand wringing stage. We think, oh my God, this is terrible. Crime out of control. It's just my experience of the Caribbean generally, Jan, is that a lot of people say, yeah, that's how it is, but I guess he deserved it. It's like, oh, well. Now, Tenerife isn't quite at that level, but it's not far off. I've been told a lot of people on Tenerife are a bit the same. It's like, oh, the guy was out for a night with his friends and took too much and ended up dead at the bottom of a ravine. Oh well, that does happen. And here we are 18 months on, we're trying to figure out how can this happen? But I think within the society itself, a lot of people are, well, yeah, that's what happens. Different world, different world.
Absolutely, and it's something that I've always said. I thank God I don't walk in that world. And some people may say, "Oh, well, you must be a bit naive," and I'm like, "Well, no, I'm not naive. I just know." If someone looks shady, I'm staying well away from them. But I think, they know how it works. The whole rugs trade, whatever you want to call it, know how it works. They know the people to target. And me just, acting all Larry on holiday isn't going to be their target, because I'd likely to sort them out there and then. But do you remember that? I think it was the video that you showed, Dunks, when the guy was over there and he was walking along the strip and he was pointing out all the African guys on there. So I do wonder. I excuse me. I do wonder whether the police just turn a blind eye to them as well, because they're over there and they're not over there just sort of dirtying the streets. Do you know what I mean? They're over there doing a bit, they're doing something. So why are the police turning a blind eye to them? That's what I would ask. Is there a problem with my technical situation here? I hope not. Um, this one here, bye. So yeah, let's move on to question two, Dunks. Oh, there. Question two. Would you visit Tenerife out of curiosity? And if so, which part of the island would you explore? Personally, I guess I would. I would visit it out of curiosity just to see um, the place where this poor boy met his end, and also to get an idea of what Masca is actually like. We've seen so many pictures on it. I don't think we really need to go, but I think, if there was a chance of for me to go, then I could possibly go over there and just have a wander because I'm nosy. So yeah, what would you do, Dunks? Would you go over there?
Out of curiosity, yes, I have zero interest in beach type places out of season. I mean, if we're talking about just to escape winter, in my mind, there are better options. Out of curiosity, definitely, but curiosity in a very general sense. I'm a bit the opposite of you there, Jan. Having heard so much about, this barranco or that hiking route. I would like to actually walk that myself. But curiosity has a very limiting factor, and we just touched on that, or I just saw something in the comments that touched on it, and that is local people have nothing to gain by opening up to you and I, when we talk about curiosity, poking around Masco or Santiago saying, so, 18 months ago, what do you think about the young man that disappeared? I don't think locals are, going to open up to you or me in that sense. But curiosity in the sense of, seeing how far that walk is up the hill and off the road and all that. Yeah, yeah, maybe. Um, but the whole strip and the African selling this, that, and the other, no, not curious about that at all, at all. The only thing I'm curious about there is why Ayub said that it was a Romanian guy selling watches. Because in that video where Wendell is walking along there, every single person selling something is Senegalese. They've come from Africa. They are migrants. And to go back to that just a second, Jan, I think what's happening there is that while those people are waiting for their status to be cleared up or what have you, I think the police are probably just happy that they are doing something relatively productive and not criminal. They are selling something on the street. Now, do they need a license? I've no idea, but I would imagine in Tenerife that's ignored if they're doing something like that. I mean, it's better than other things that they could be doing. So I think that is willfully ignored. I've got no interest in seeing it, but I would love to know. I still love to know why IU came up with some Romanian guy selling us something. It's just bizarre. But
The northern.
the northern coast, Jan. Yeah, that again, where these Ukrainian guys were found dead, that looks similar. It looks similar to what we've seen with Masca. I would be quite interested to walk around there and see if it has the same feel or the same vibe, like little local communities, but all very hush hush. If you start talking about, who are those tourists that are renting that house over there, that kind of odd contrast does fascinate me. You've got this local life that seems untainted, and yet everyone knows something not right is happening in the house down the bottom of the hill, kind of thing. I'm curious about that always. That's like, so yeah, what is going on down there? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you can't help but think that, the police are willfully just looking the other way. But I wonder why. And is it in their favour? Are they happy, and where do the Africans come in the rug business? Where do they come? Because we have spoken about the minions of Jay and Brad and then the next step up. Where do the Africans come in there? Are they working in cahoots with them? I'm not sure that they are. I think they've got a separate business going on, and in which case, why are they allowed in? Why are they so readily accepted when they're just pests, really? It looks to me as if they're not, giving a good impression of the strip or, other areas of Tenerife. Then why are the police looking the other way? I do not understand that. So yeah, I think we do have to go along with the thought that there is a lot of corruption, which is sad, really, because at the end of the day, we're talking about people's lives, and we're talking about people going to these places who are actually quite vulnerable because they're young, they're going over to have a good time. Their parents believe it's a safe place for them to go because there's lots and lots of other teens their age. And some of them aren't coming back. So yeah, I just think it's really sad. We've got people in the chat talking about trafficking. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't looked too deeply into that, but I do. Was it Dunks? Was it you? It was. It was you that did the video yesterday on it, and it was a very interesting video. And yeah, there's that going on as well. I mean, I'm surprised there's any room for any holiday makers. It's ridiculous. I mean, they've got so many things. What with the Africans and the poor girls being set to work, and the, you know, I'm surprised there's any space for us dunks.
Yeah, I know. I'm waiting for the latest economic reports from the Canary Islands to state what the main source of income is. Because any time now we're going to see number one, tourism, number two, crime. That's it. That's what they produce: tourism and crime. Maybe a few bananas in the plantations in the country, but yeah, it is absurd. Um, and the Africans that are selling things on the street, I'm going to disagree with you, Jan. I do think they are a part of the hierarchy. I do think that if the conversation goes that way, if you are interested in the sunglasses they have, and if you are interested in the watch they have, I do think they pose the question, are you looking for something to smoke, or would you be interested in? I do think they ask that question. Now, they're in a very vulnerable spot if things go wrong. So I don't think this is just what the impression I've got. I don't think they push that too much, especially out on the street, having a public conversation. But I think, Jan, if you say, yeah, do you know anyone where I can do something a little stronger than what you're offering? I do think those guys can hook you up, and I do think they take their little cut. Now, at street level, their cut is probably very, very small. All they're doing is the first step of telling you where to go to find this. But I'm now wondering what the process is, because until the Jay Slater case and the aftermath, we had all those cannabis clubs where, even though technically tourists can't go in and partake of the substances on offer, that did happen. Those rules were very, very flexible, it seems. Nearly all of those, a lot of them have been closed down. So there must be, in that vacuum, there must be somewhere where some of these people go to snort whatever. And I do think, Jan, that those lucky men on the street are the first step in many instances. I do think they're part of that. And then as you work your way up, everyone takes their little cut, and as you get to the top, it's probably quite a big cut. Um, so I do think it's all part of the system. If the police wanted to get rid of all of that, they surely could if they had a crackdown. But This is one thing that I'm working on. I was talking about, not being productive video wise, but I'm trying to look into the possibility of feeding a lot of what we know to authorities in Madrid. Because what is clear to me is since the Jay Slater case, and my theory on this is the Jay Slater case might have been one of the straws that broke the camel's back. I get the feeling that when those Madrid dogs were sent over and they found nothing, I've just got a feeling Madrid started to say, okay, enough is enough. Because it's all very well on an island having Guardia Civil, people Chris Pennington saying, I got my friends in the Guardia Civil. But there are also people that come from mainland Spain. They really don't have a connection here. They're not easily bribed. It's not like I know your family. No, you don't know my family. My family are in Madrid. I'm here for a 5-year stint or what have you. My impression is Madrid is much more interested in cleaning this up. I don't think if we keep going through anyone on Tenerife that anything will change. But anyway, yeah, I've been talking to my man Noah here about what can we send that we have that is in Spanish, easily clickable, linkable, that someone in Madrid would look at and say, oh, this might be worth looking into. It's just another avenue that's worth exploring because I don't think this what we see in Tenerife and the Jay Slater case. I don't think it is typical of what happens all over Spain. Of course not. So, you get my theory here. If there's someone very high up in Madrid that would look into it, they wouldn't have this bias of, oh yeah, but that happens in Tenerife. They might have the take that, oh yeah, we're trying to combat this. Let's look at it. So yeah, it's an island life, but it is not totally detached. And I've just got a feeling all this activity we've seen, this group being busted here, this sex worker trafficking thing being busted there, and all of these take a long time. I pointed out in that case that they started looking into this July 24. When Jay Slater's body was found. 18 months later, we hear about the arrests. So we don't know. I keep stressing this. We don't know what is happening. We kind of assume nothing's happening. They don't care. We don't know. Tomorrow we might read, 10 people arrested for whatever, and it's all connected to what's going on in Papagayos. We just don't know. And that's where we need our lucky break, Jan. We keep getting this from the accident group. 18 months, you haven't found any evidence of anything. Yeah, but we don't know. Tomorrow we might. Tomorrow we might have been vindicated totally by or the right arrests being made. I think this is why we continue, isn't it? We just hope that something will pop up because other things are popping up.
Yeah, I think so too. I hold out hope, Dunks. Um, I was just thinking, I think this case, I think the Jay Slater case is somewhat different and somewhat, I don't want to say of a first, it might have happened before, but I think it's almost like it was an inside job. Do you know what I mean? And
Hmm.
it was the I know you can't say certain words, but the rug community, it was all inside. It didn't involve anybody outside. So, and that's why I think this is very unique. There are cases, like with the Nathan Osborne or Osman one, where it's not like that is a different case, although there are similarities. I think the fact that Jay was apparently, allegedly, working with these people is what makes this case unique. And I think it's another reason why the police authorities have not got involved with it, because they know it will open up a whole can of worms. Whereas I think the Nathan Osman one, as bad as that is and everything, I think it's a lot different to what actually happened in this case. Do you want to say anything about that, Dunks?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do want to speak about that because you have nailed that on the head. The unique feature of, to me, the unique feature of the Jay Slater case is the degree to which Jay and his so-called friends were participants in all of this activity, all of this concealment, all of this, I'm going to say it, allegedly criminality. To what degree were they participants rather than just the victims? And the difference, you mentioned the Nathan Osman case. Everything I've seen in that case indicates that Nathan was 100% victim. Now, I don't know. That is one avenue if I ever got into that case. And I really should try to visit where that happened because I have a lot of questions about that. But let us go down the track just for a second, Jan, that maybe Nathan wasn't, because all we know is that Nathan is apparently on camera. I want to question that too at 4 in the morning, heading in the wrong direction from his hotel. Well, it does raise the question. No one seems to know if Nathan was knowingly going somewhere for some other reason. You've got to look at it. Now, if, and I don't suspect this, but if it turned out that Nathan had some kind of illicit rendezvous someplace, that changes everything. It changes everything. There's no hint of it, but you've got to look at that possibility. The difference in the Jay Slater case is there are so many red flags that hint that all of these people are participants in some criminality that it leads one to think that this is not just a case of a victim being, kind of randomly selected, and therefore this is the horror of the crime. This is what drives us, you, me, and everyone else into keep looking at this, because the more you look at the background, the more it indicates the people involved, I'm going to say it, including the family, are well aware that this is not a random targeting of some poor lad on holiday. It isn't. And anyone in the accident group that keeps insisting all of the other people involved are totally innocent, there's no evidence of any criminality, I don't know what world they live in. It's just like, how can you know all of this background information and still conclude that, Brad, Brandon, Lucy, Ayub, Rocky, Debbie, all of them are 100% innocent? It surely can't be. It doesn't work like that in the world, especially in Tenerife. So do you see what I mean here, Jan? This case is unique because we have so many involved in the story that you sense are participants, not part of the victim group here. It's not like we have some Italian mafia over here and some Papagayo's narco kingpin over here, and oh boy, poor Jay got targeted. There's too much in the background that says he ended up dead because of participation in something awful. That's what I've concluded. I think you've concluded that. The sane of the world have concluded that. But some haven't. I find it hard to believe some haven't.
I know. Yeah, it just seems. I watch a program over here. I don't know whether you watch it, Dunks. It's called Traitors, and it's a very popular program. And it's a group of people, about 20 people, and they designate 3 people to be traitors. And the whole mission of the game is to work out which ones are the traitors. And the biggest fights in that place and the most vicious, excuse me, fight are when it's traitor against traitor. And that's what I see has happened with this case. It was, Jay was one of the traitors, is in amongst the traitors, and all the others are like, no, you're not getting away with this. And that's what I can liken it to. I don't know if anyone in the chat is also watching that so that they can understand what I'm trying to say. And I think that's what makes it, as I've said, very unique. And I think it's also another reason why it was never investigated properly, because it would have opened up a whole, can of worms that the police over there, they don't want opened. So, yeah. So let's go on to question 3. Okay. Who is the most responsible for spreading organised misinformation? Now, I know we've spoken about this a lot, but I think it's important to keep speaking about it and to to get your views on it as well, guys, because we've got over 100 in here, and I'd like to know what you believe, who you believe is most responsible for spreading organised information. Is it people like myself, Duncan, Wax, Mama D? Are we actually spreading misinformation? So I'd like you to answer this if you can, guys. And I'll pass you over to Dunks and see what he's got to say about it. In my opinion, it's mainstream media. That is that's number one, very closely followed by Debbie Duncan. So over to you, Dunks.
Yeah, I mean, mainstream media, and I pointed this out this week that isn't it bizarre that in Jay's law, the target of those spreading organized misinformation seems to be online creators like you and me that have a minuscule following, compared to the Mail Online that must have millions of people that read this stuff. Our influence, if let us assume for the sake of argument that we are spreading misinformation, it's quite possible if I read something in Mail Online that's wrong and I repeat it, I guess I'm spreading misinformation. I don't think I'm guilty of anything. I'm just repeating what they said. So, to answer that part of the question, Jan, you and I probably do spread some organized misinformation, but we're not the source. We're, I try to be very careful. I try to say, this is what I've read. Here it is. This is my take on it. That's my opinion. This links to something else I've read about. I think at least on our side, Jan, we do point to where we're getting this from, and then we speculate on what it might mean. I did that recently with the whole Tammy. Tammy was the person, the guide that works in the Massacre Gorges, that said she had heard Jay's phone was found on the beach. That's not me saying that. That's Mail Online. And Daily Record said the same thing. I think the Sun might have said the same thing. So all we do is take what we've read, spread it to an audience, and then we speculate what the consequences of that might be. If we're guilty of doing that, then the whole world does that every day. We all read something and say, I wonder if that means da 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 da. But this whole, it's just bizarre that, the Jay's Law thing wants to get you, wants to get me, wants to get waxed. Mail Online that has millions of people reading misinformation. Oh, they don't care about that. There's nothing in Jay's Law that says, and, British press that have also spread misinformation need to be held accountable. There's no mention of them. So the logical conclusion is Sarah Smith and Debbie Duncan, they don't actually have any big beef with organized misinformation. If they did, they would be listing everyone that's put it out there. That's not their issue at all. For some odd reason, their issue is only with those that have a very small audience that put out so-called misinformation, and that misinformation is against the narrative. That's the point. And this is our problem with it, is it's not the organized misinformation that's a problem for them. It's like we are using that misinformation to highlight something that's a problem with them, with their side, with this whole cover up. And that's just hypocritical. You can't say, oh, these people need to be banned and shut up and put behind bars, but these people saying the same thing, they're okay. That's why it stinks. The whole thing stinks to high heaven. So I'm going to agree with you on this one. I think the media, mass media, the useless, Sky reporters and Mail Online and Nick Pease and all the rest of them that have never come out and said we made a right balls up of this. We got names wrong, we got quotes wrong. They've never come out and said they've made any mistakes. But apparently, we're the ones to blame for that. And it's what really pisses me off, actually, because we are careful. If we say this is what we've read, this is what we've heard, that's the source. It's not us. Our job is to amplify and to speculate, but the actual source of the misinformation, Debbie Duncan and co. just don't care about it. It makes my blood boil. I better hand over to you, Jan. I'm getting too worked up.
Yeah, and another point, because it is obviously just a few of us that they're focusing on, why can they not state exactly what it is we've said so that we can dispute it? So that we can turn around and say, well, we believe this because we've read this there. Do you know what I mean? So it's also, you know, it's also ambiguous. I can't think of the word. The
Ambiguous.
yes, yes, and it's like, yeah, well, they're saying this and they're spreading misinformation. What misinformation are we spreading? We need to be told, and I think that's exactly what would happen if it ever did get to, a court of law. Then their story would have so many, their case would have so many holes in it. And we could speak categorically about what we've read and what we've spoken about. Can they do the same thing? Can they deny things that have been seen, that have been put out, and then twisted? Because that's actually what's been happening. Never mind what the trolls say. We know what they're doing, scampering around in their cesspool. But we're talking about someone like Debbie. Okay, what is Debbie going to say that I've said is wrong? And what Duncan said is wrong? And what Wax has said is wrong? She can't. She can't say anything. And that's why when we see her, on the sofa with her new dress and her new hair, we get annoyed because we're like, nobody's asking the questions. Why are they not asking the questions? So, yeah. So, yeah, we can get agitated about it. But the good thing is that we do have our channels and we will continue to speak about it. And, there may have been many that have fallen by the wayside. I'm not one of those people, especially when I'm like a dog with a bone. You ain't getting that bone from me. And I know that Duncan is exactly the same. What have you got to say about that, Dunks? About them not being able to ask or to show, to demonstrate where we have actually spread organised misinformation?
All I can tell you, Jan, is that if you or I or Wax or anyone in our clan were actually invited to sofa surf and chat on breakfast TV and all that, if we were there in the studio, I can guarantee you this: we would be asked to give specific examples of facts or allegations we've made against anyone. We would be put on the spot. We would not be given a free pass just to say, oh, well, the facts speak to our side of the case. We would be put on the spot and say, give us an example of a fact that indicates there is some kind of criminality involved. We would be challenged. And this is what makes my blood boil, is because time and time again, we have Debbie and we have Sarah Smith just able to skate over this all by saying the facts are out there, the verdict is in, and they are never, ever challenged on any specific. And the devil is in the details on this case. If you start asking the right questions, the Debbie Duncans of this world, the Sarah Smiths of this world, they do not have a credible answer. But they survive with this Jay's Law campaign simply because they are never challenged on specifics. But I guarantee you, Jan, if it ever gets to the day where, we are invited to counter some of this, those same people, Sarah Reed and Ed Bollocks, whatever his name is, they would be asking us in a very, a different tone. We wouldn't get that same tone. We would be getting the tone of, you're a troll, you're guilty of this. Now, you answer these questions. I would love to answer any of the questions, but I would quickly turn it around and say, oh, this is interesting. For the first time, you're getting into some detail, asking me some questions. Why have you never done the other side here? Why have you just given them a free pass? It really is. And I think that's why we still have an audience in that sense, because there's a certain number of people that realize the scales of media justice here are way out of whack, and you have to go into a few creators to try to get the other side of the story. Um, so yeah, they won't go into the answer to the question, Jan, is they won't go into the details of the case because they know, like you've said, it opens up a can of worms, and it can't reflect the narrative. If you go into the actual detailed answers of who was doing what at what time and why, it doesn't lead to the conclusion this was all an accident. They know that. Hence this, skating over generalities and, hand wringing about this, that, and the other. But those that know the case, every time we hear it, we think that's not the issue here. That's not the issue. The issue is who did what at what time. Um, Eventually we'll get there. I just don't know when, Jan. I just don't know when.
That's why it's so infuriating when they started going on about the watch. I was like, shut up about the bloody watch. The watch is a red herring. It's not about the watch. For God's sake. And do you remember well, I don't know which one it was, and they kept coming back to this watch business, this watch business. And I'm like, what are you talking about? It's not about the watch. It's like it's driving me insane. Oh, Lordy, Miss Claudie. So let's go up to number 4, which sort of leads on to it a little bit, which is will Sarah Smith, MP, don't forget the MP, that's really important, guys, quietly back down from the Jay Slater case? My answer to that one is if she's got any sense, yes. Has she got any sense? Only time will tell. But yeah, I reckon she's gonna. I mean, she doesn't even know the case. I want an audience. I want an audience with Sarah Smith MP. Come and talk to Jan. What do you think, Tunks?
I don't want to get into party politics here because I think Sarah Smith could be an MP for any party from what I've heard her say. I just think the important thing about Sarah Smith is she's young, she's new, she is somewhat naive about how politics on a national level works. That's not really a criticism of her. I think every new MP goes through this process. To me, it's obvious she has not thought through the consequences of every turn and twist in this saga. I am convinced Sarah Smith did not think when she jumped on this Jay's Law bandwagon that if the petition is an abysmal failure and if the populace as a whole have no interest in, Jay Jay's law coming into effect, what happens to her? Now, she has tied her colors to this mast. So that's why I asked the other day, is she going to double down and redouble her efforts and keep pushing this? I mean, God knows, we've got the Prime Minister now fighting for his life, and God knows what other corruption is in the air. And she seems to think that, she's going to come out of this with Jay's law. It's just not going to happen. But I'm just wondering at what point the penny drops with her that she's flogging a dead horse. This isn't going anywhere. Now, if she's a true politician and she's wise and she has one eye on getting re-elected, she will slowly withdraw from this. I'm just convinced the more she hammers away at it, the less likely her own constituents are going to say, yay, yay, Sarah Smith. If if the people around her really wanted this to happen, she would have got her 100,000 signatures from her own constituency and beyond. If you look at that area of Lancashire, it has some very populous areas. There are loads of voters that will back this from day one. The very fact they haven't should tell her that she needs to quietly slide out of this. And this is why I suggested the other day that maybe she will, true politician wise, she'll convince Debbie she's doubling down. Oh, Debbie, I've got a committee to look at this. Oh, we're going to have a meeting in Parliament. You can come down and attend if you like. And, poor Debbie Duncan, who I think is easily manipulated, will think because she gets a new dress and a new reception in Westminster and people are, yeah, exactly, ticking boxes and saying, yes, Debbie, we're on your side, that is some kind of progress. But I'm very, very skeptical about how Sarah Smith will deal with this now. I think she will appear to redouble her efforts for Debbie, but in her heart, she will know it's going nowhere. And for her own sake, she needs to stop being some kind of public face for it. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. But I have a feeling that as Sarah Smith looks at the appalling numbers of the petition, something will tell her this is not her best move to get re-elected, and I think she'll go quiet. But I don't know. She's a newbie. She might not have picked up on this. She might stake her political career on this. If she does, she's going nowhere. Is my amateur assessment. Okay.
That's okay. We like being amateurs, don't we, Dunks? I'm looking in the chat and I'm looking at people. Claire said something here. I didn't notice this, but Claire says Debbie called her son Jake in the documentary, so my overactive thoughts kicked in and I found Jake Pennington Slater from Lancs. Explain that one, someone, please. Oh, I don't know if I can. Can you, Dunks? Okay, I'll take a look at that this week if I get the chance, Claire, and maybe put a video up about it, or maybe we can discuss next week because we're running out of time here now. So maybe we can look into that, and that's really interesting, though, Claire. Yeah, certainly take a look at that. So, guys, let's move on to the last question, which is a bit of a fun one. Bit of a fun one. Which TV show will Debbie Duncan next appear on? I think Strictly. They're going to team her up. Who would they team her up with? Not one of the young ones because she's not good with young. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. I'll have to think about that. Yeah, I think maybe Strictly, or maybe Corrie. Yeah, yeah. Matt says Corrie. Maybe she'd come on Corrie. But what character would she play on Corrie? Crime Watch, someone suggesting. Yeah. Annette has put not Crime Watch. I like to finish on a laugh, guys. Have you got any ideas, Dunks?
For once, I can't answer because I don't know anything about UK TV these days. I've heard of Crime Watch, that's why I'm laughing. I'll go out on a limb here. The TV appearance that Debbie will next make will be Candor Productions episode 2. We got it all wrong. This is the person we should have been focused on. So I'll go out there and say there's going to be an enormous backpedaling exercise in a few months, and Candor Productions will come, to the public and say we got fooled as well. So that'll be Debbie's next appearance. It'll be the same thing. It'll be the same appearance, the same documentary. It'll just be subtitled with, she's not telling you the truth here, or listen carefully. It'll be the same documentary, but different conclusion.
Oh, I'm laughing my head off here. Oh, what a great way to finish. Um, right, okay. 24 hours in police custody. A place in the sun. I saw somebody put. Great one. What else? Naked attraction. Oh no! Well, I suppose she could use some of the GoFundMe, get the old bod sorted out. Do you know what I mean? What else have we got? Oh, this is great. Oh, okay, okay. The Muppets. Lordy, Miss Claudia, you guys are brilliant. Thank you for joining in on this. I don't know which one. Would I lie to you? Oh God, she'd be great. But she'd be sat there, she wouldn't be able to say anything. She'd be like, right, Debbie, you tell us your story. Well, I was in work and I got a phone call. She's lying! Duncan doesn't even know the programme. Sorry, that just tickled me. Sorry about that, Dunks. Do you want to come on and say something?
Because my knowledge of UK TV history is so dated, I can only laugh at what I'm imagining these programs are all about. That's the funny thing. But I do remember, in way back in my youth, just before the 6 o'clock news, I think it was on BBC, there was a 5-minute kids thing called The Magic Roundabout, where all these bizarre characters just appeared. And I remember this character on a spring called Zebedee, and he used to go, Zebedee arrived, and he would just like plop down. We wouldn't say anything. I don't think Zebedee spoke, and then he would bounce off again. So I'm changing my mind. My prediction now is that Debbie will appear in a revamped Magic Roundabout episode, and instead of Zebedee arrived, it'll be Debbie Duncan arrived, and her familiar face will be put on a little spring. She'll pop down, she'll look around, shrug her shoulders, and then bounce off again. So yes, Zebedee Debbie Duncan. That she'll feature in a Magic Roundabout thing, I think.
Oh Lord, that was so funny. You guys are so funny as well. Oh dear, I've got to calm myself. Okay. Right, so what we're going to do quickly now is go on to the next stage before we head out of here. That was so funny. I thought when I wrote that question, I thought, do you know what? This is so funny. I just had to go with it. So let's have a quick look at this. I mean, it's the usual. It's the usual. Where are we? Right, I have to calm myself down now. Here we go. Dooby dooby doo. Here we go. So we've got the trolls of the week. Trolls of the week. Right, okay, as you can see, we've got a juggler. There's a juggler up there. Because there's this troll called Juggler. He's got a lot to say for themselves. I think, you know, when people in the circus dance, and they're normally on those unicycles, yeah, and they're juggling away. I think this juggler has fallen many a time and bumped his head. That's why he comes out with the most ridiculous statements. So yeah, he's got the Troll of the Week comment award this week. Well done. The rest of the trolls, all the same usual ones, and some of them, you know what, don't some of them are really looking for my attention. Have you noticed that? And I'm like,
Hmm.
oh, okay. And a bit like, you know, when you work in schools, you always spot the kid that wants your attention. Here, miss, I need you over here, I want you over here. And if you don't pay them attention, they shout even louder. That's what these trolls are like. So guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to ignore them. So, yeah, we've still got all these things coming up. Yeah, juggling very fast on the comments. What a lie. Yeah, anyway, I will put this up. Okay, guys, I will put this up on my community post because you can't read it very well here. But, yeah, but it's quite, in all seriousness, I have got a little bit here that I put. We are logging and reporting J Slater trolls. Indeed, we are. So if you do, if you are abused, harassed, stalked, whatever, just take a screenshot of the comment and report it to your local police. Okay, that's what you have to do, guys. So although we have a joke about it, there is a serious side to it as well. So I'm going to jump over to Dunks now to say farewell and to add anything else, and then I'll come back and say my farewells.
Okay, yeah, thanks again, Jan, for hosting a very entertaining and especially at the end there, light-hearted and revealing thought provoking idea. Where does Debbie appear on TV next? I like that one. Many thanks, obviously, to everyone that was commenting. I believe, Jan, next week I'm in a good place to do this if you are up for it. But yeah, many thanks to everyone that again has contributed. Some really good comments out there, and I will try to respond to some tomorrow. But yeah, we battle on, Jan. We battle on, and let's see what the next week brings.
Yeah, indeedy. Do you know someone's put here? In my opinion, Juggler is Luggy or CP. I think so as well because there's very few of them left, really. And that's why I did change it to troll comments because it's too. You know, there's only so much you can look at a bit of Scottish ham. Do you know what I mean? So it's like no, we'll go with comments. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it's not the same person. But hey ho, and away we go. It gives them something to do, doesn't it, guys? Anyway, I want to say thank you so much to Dunks for coming. Absolute star. I look forward to your videos next week, Dunks, and also I look forward to chatting again with you on Sunday because it's good fun and it's nice that we can have a bit of a giggle and chat to these lovely people in our chats. So thanks for coming on, Dunks. So I'm also going to say a very huge thank you to you guys in the chat. You're wonderful. You had me giggling today. It's really good fun because although it's a very serious subject, sometimes we need to laugh, don't we, guys? So I want to say thank you so much for my. We've got Arctic Nick in the house. Hey, Nick. Hope that's the real one. I want to say thank you so much to all my moderators. You are exemplary. I really appreciate you. I'm going to try, and also I want to say thank you to everybody that's chatting away, or even if you're just watching. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. It means a great deal to me. So I want to tell you to just look after yourselves. We're in February now. Hopefully the cold weather's on its way out. So you take care of yourselves out there. And because trust me, it's a rotten old world. So until the next one, bye bye for now.